Okay, today we're going to turn this into this. I'm just kidding. We're going to turn this into something a little bit better.
No.
Our building code says that the balusters need to not allow the passage of a 4-inch sphere, and we were well beyond that, so that was the intent of this project. The first thing I did was to cut up a plastic garbage bag and use that as a drop cloth to reduce some of the mess. I cut out the balusters with the Sawzall, and they came out pretty cleanly. There was definitely some very rough edges cut out of the drywall, which I covered up with joint compound. What you're looking at here is after the first layer. It doesn't look good, but by the third layer it will. I cut the railing to length, taking into account the thickness of the end caps. I screwed them all together using drywall screws. I pre-drilled the holes so I didn't split the end cap or the handrail. I used a little bit wider drill bit to countersink the screws. Next, I measured how long I would need to install a board on the bottom that would have holes to accept the balusters. Heading back to the railing, I drilled 5 holes to accept the 5 different balusters, spaced evenly.
One other thing that I can do to pre-work this is to transcribe the holes down to the bottom board. And that way I can just pop in the balusters. I'm going to transcribe the hole from the handrail down to the board. I actually went and marked the side edge here. So I lined it up, made the mark, and then moved the handrail out of the way. And then I was able to lay the square down and get the mark down on the board. Okay, made a cross mark. I had to take a couple tries to figure out exactly which size hole is going to accept this peg. This peg is what comes out of the baluster. They are apparently 2 pieces. Alright, so I finally got the right size hole. That pops right in. So the hole almost goes all the way through, but not quite. And all I gotta do is do that 4 more times. Alright, the holes are all drilled, and now it is time to paint. These balusters are primed. They look white. So I've put these up before when they're primed only, and I don't think anyone notices, but as long as I'm out here, it's only 5 of them, I'm gonna knock it out. All right, this is after the second coat. Finally it's starting to look a little bit better. I feel like I'm not an expert on drywall, but one thing I do know is that you just have to keep moving fast because it really doesn't look good until the very end. 2 coats on the wood, and there's just 1 coat on the balusters and we're good to go. Okay, next step is install, but that'll be tomorrow.
Anytime I'm doing a drywall project, I try to use a wet sand technique whenever possible. And that just means rubbing a wet sponge over the drywall. It makes way less of a mess. I'll definitely still end up with some drywall flakes on the ground because of using my drywall knife, but it's just way less than actually having to sand down the drywall.
Oh, I can't wait till you're gonna be my cameraman someday.
So it took 3 layers of joint compound in order to make it look nice and smooth. Adding a little bit of paint made it look like the balusters were never there. Now it's time to pop in the bottom board that has the holes to accept the balusters. So I just screwed them in. And I got a little smarter as I went and screwed through the holes, so it'd be less to have to repair later. When I did go to install the balusters into the bottom board, they were hard to push in because some of the paint had pooled in there. So I used a mallet to bang them down. And then I found out that the rail was too long. So I had to unscrew an end cap, cut it out with a chop saw, screw the end cap back on, and then it fit.
It was white already, but I found out that compared to the new white paint, it wasn't quite white enough.
I definitely had a little bit of paint touch-up work to do. I had to touch up some of the white of the railing from having to cut down the length. I also had to redo some of the wall from having to fit the railing in place. And bam! Our finished code-compliant railing is done. So now our kids or any drunk people at our house aren't going to accidentally fall through. So if this video is helpful for you, please subscribe to my channel and let me know what you think in the comments below.